I thought I'd give a sketch of what I guess Patty Murray and Bob Ferguson figure I just have to about to go through, and brought all on myself. It just happened to have befallen me. Now, Rubio, Marcus Rubio, he's on the tube today saying the weaponized news broadcast piece of his today, saying like basically transparency isn't for the powerful. Now, I could sort of sympathize with his view about that because he they gave me a little taste of their nookie nook. And when I was back in days when I was social climbing near Peter Gabriel, they had a blast blowing up the Jackson Immunogenetic Laboratories to the tune of my poetry, epic poetry. And they don't want people to get the idea that I made them twist their ankle. So Queerball better keep quiet. The problem is, every now and then somebody in Carnegie Mellon University who believes their whole heart that because CMU and George Bush didn't like Jimmy Carrey, they didn't like me, in other words, that Robert Fripp just about had to come up with 101 ways to torture me. Every now and then they play this game called Spin the Word Story. They like better, they keep quiet for a long time, then somebody steps forward and says, gyrate great, um, the great wheel. Uh, Often enough, I just give it a brush off because it's dumb. I mean, how many times can you glorify shooting up a bowling alley full of deaf kids? It's not my style. Kash Patel, he gets drunk. Hey, we won. I'll sue Jimmy Carrey. But one of the things I saw that makes it sort of strange to me is that the Freedom Flotilla kids were injected with some unknown substance. You see, injecting is part of the master itinerary of this ritual abuse, which takes on a very macabre dimension when Hollywood gets to it. I see the things that people watch on Hollywood now because I go to the senior hub occasionally. They have a big TV with all of that AI violence trash. It's just sad to me. But it's easy to nod off when you're trying to deal with this stuff because it is sort of perennial now. I mean, they don't admit it, but everybody seems to have a numbers racket, a numbers card for Hollywood. Weaponized News didn't see fit to go into the story of Nelson Rockefeller finding the CIA innocent of wrongdoing. They felt the whole idea of Peter Gabriel, judge and jury in my head. I mean, Nelson Rockefeller investigating the CIA was going to be warped superficiality, more or less as face value. The idea of Hollywood investigating Hollywood, it's a little bit far fetched. But that's what they're selling, of course, because Dee Dee is the name of the first woman who shows up in Serpico. Dee Dee Allen, like Woody Allen, everything you wanted to know about sex. One time I was at this place by um, Babyland. were shaky, would shout at cars, "I'm going to split your head wide open." He literally would yell that at cars, and Migliosi would go by with a bag full of candy halves. Literally. Babyland was a shooting mystery. There was a place down there on Penn and Negley, and some girl who was scary cornered me and took me to an apartment with the Saudi Arabian men. And I called Dee Dee trying to get help, and she said, "I don't know how you get yourself into these things." And that sort of spoke for Martin Scorsese. You know, Pittsburgh tabooed vindication. You did it to yourself, you know. It's a sort of line you get from the people lined up by the lawyers tribe that they have in Pittsburgh, like Snyder and them. And of course, they suckered me with Zappa's freedom of speech stuff. That was a military psyop. You can get the idea because Burstyn is the name from The Exorcist. You know, so then he was automatically King Crimson. Ballou was in Zappa's band in King Crimson. So, you know, they get a free pass to say health food faggot. They said it was a kind of hoagie. And when I tried to defend the queers, they came down on me with what the Zeos did to Fatilla. They said they would inject me. And they ripper murdered Shannon Harps. And it's just, Seattle is beyond the pale. They're carjacking me, and they have malpractice going on all the time. It's not malpractice right now. It's Medicaid fraud investigation. So I'm not really suffering horribly from Parkinson's, my life at risk, and death, and losing my eyesight from glaucoma, from torture. And all of them are doing this stuff. Like Alec Baldwin, when he shot Rutz, had a book, and the index says Burstyn Bandera. Bandera, the Nazis in the Ukraine. Rutz was from the Ukraine. So it's a sort of satanic ritual weaponized. Talks about when they blow up the Menab Children's School. It's like a ritual, putting the cosmonaut over the supernova. You know, when they invade the supernova rave, it's like a satanic ritual. And Putin, a good word for the Fuhrer. Putin. And they have Camilla Valieva spin with her ice skate chop like a headhunter, chopping off heads, you know, like Toshiro Mifune in The Swordsman. One of these awful movies they're producing. So Peter Gabriel suckered me into believing that he cared. Wow, he cared about the AIDS attack. He blew up the Jackson Labs, man. But turned out he was covering for the people who started AIDS. You know, and they were just murdering people to jack up the curiosity value. That's all the federal police ever do is speculate on the curiosity value. And it suckered me. You know, I was talking Zappa, you know. And they have these grave secret magnates who pore over every word and create their narratives. Sir Wechter was involved in these crimes, and he was the one who reported Kennedy's brain missing. Nobody searched his bags. He was a partner of John Schulman, who was ripping off the museum for millions. So, and of course, they're all Caliban. They all did it to cover for Leslie Katz. That's the sandbagger's right-wing Israeli untouchable, because she was a virgin. And the feminists say that's an outrageous thing, that she should still be a virgin. Jimmy Curry was crybabying. And they make up this song and dance about it. Could have saved John Lennon. That's slick. I'm not the only person who's laughed at that. I didn't used to laugh because I believed it, but I clearly see the picture that John Lennon put this together and was in on it. But that's what they do. They jack up the value by saying that's not true. Because that's not true, they have to blow off steam. They have to be civilized. They have to murder deaf kids in a bowling alley. Because it's what they call emotional service to the bereaved. Bobby Kennedy puts a gerbil in a blender and it gets around. And what do? They put a figure skating crowd into the blade of a military helicopter in Washington, D.C., from Wichita, where my grandfather was from. Right after Kansas offers me legal assistance. See, they're playing the scorecard thing. It's a numbers racket from Hollywood. Hollywood really sucks. People should get it through their head. What's my alternative to this stuff? Well, I'll tell you what I'm up against before I tell you what the alternative is. I'm up against the Obamas, for one thing. There's a movie by the honorary the Black Warrior beat Takeshi Kitano of Japan, called Brother. He gets black man gets a suitcase full of money at the end of the movie. It's perfect metaphor for Obama. And don't get the idea that that's not what it is. He has a movie called Seen by the Sea with a deaf kid in a Pittsburgh t-shirt. And Ichiro lured me out here. That is what it is. It is what I'm saying it is. It's a celebrity murder ball sweepstakes. So that's what I'm up against. And you want to know what I think? They have this Nosferatu, and there's a Japanese woman or Chinese woman on a movie book I have over here doing like this. And they give me Tulip with COVID on it years before COVID happened. And Tulip is the name of a casino, right? And Gabriel has this thing called Casino Alchemy. So this big horrible boil comes up on my lip when Seattle, of course, take me out for a barbecue. And, when the COVID happened, the children were looking around like, oh my God, you mean our parents really don't have any influence over the government and the state? We're really hopelessly alone in this world. And then, of course, they said, yes, of course, children, take a look at TikTok and what we're doing to the children of Gaza. And this is Martin Andelman, Paul McCartney, Martin Scorsese in a teamwork system with Sir Wecht. And I did all that to myself. I mean, Serpico came out when I was just a kid. Dee was experiencing in on this stuff, and she saw me as cherry boy status. So she got people to really torture me and scare me so that she could have her way with me. And that's the truth of Zappa's loss. I didn't bring any of this stuff on. But they said, poison the drug and punish the crime, and illustrated swallow nearly killed me, is what they wrote. Which is, did you swallow? Or did they nearly kill you? They nearly killed you, so you swallowed. Oh. And he turns out to be an Attica State Prison psychiatrist. Some hero John Lennon turned out to be. Because that's the way they have it. Is you were either like John Lennon or you're trying to upstage. Because John Lennon wasn't just weird. He was Ayn Rand his tonsillings made the clit directly vibrate, and they just project on me. The Dee Allen stuff, and Alex Baldwin offs the Ukrainian girl. They blow up the Manab, shoot up the bowling alley, have a big argument about whose spiritual property is the letter from Martha Gellhorn, the post office, the Veterans Administration, the Geigers, Mellon Bank. They have a PA trooper named Baldwin who's cased me for years and years. He's really a nut. And they want to make sure that they hate us. There's other stuff in these letters in the scribble, but I can't read it because my Parkinson's writing is so bad. But that should give you the idea of what's going on with these people. I'm just answering it because the Great Witch Hunt, every now and then somebody comes along and spins the great wheel of the you know secret game, casino alchemy.